very many people do what I call ability-driven borrowing. You know, they borrow simply because they qualify or because there's a willing lender. There's someone willing to give them money. There's someone who can give them money. There's an organization that can give them money, not because they needed to. And that is dangerous. That means that many people today are trapped in debt because they borrowed just because they qualified to borrow, just because there was a willing lender. You see, when you borrow just because you qualify or because there is a willing lender, it means that you will be with money probably that you did not have a plan for. And there is nothing as dangerous as money in the hands that did not have a plan for it. That thing is dangerous, right? And so what would happen to such people is that it is highly possible that they find themselves borrowing when they ought not to have borrowed, right? Or they borrow amounts bigger than what they actually needed if it was necessary for them to borrow. And this is how you get to know them, because it is easier to be able to see them. When they walk into a lender's office, when they walk into a bank, they walk into a circle, they walk into a microfinance office, this is how you get to know them. If they're employed, you will see them flash out their payslip. If they're in business, probably you'll see them flash out their statement. And this is what you'll hear them tell the banker. Please check for me how much I can qualify to borrow. Right? And so the banker will run through their calculations, and the banker tells them 200,000, give me the application form. 500,000, give me the application form. 1 million, give me the application form. And I keep asking them, what took you to the lender? It's a big question. Right? What took you to the lender? Because it appears that you are willing to take any amount that you're being given. That shows that you did not have a plan. You didn't know exactly what you went to look for from the lender's office. And that is where the problem begins from. Many people actually get shocked when repayment day comes. That's the day they remember that whatever they were doing was actually borrowing. All right? When deductions have been loaded, that's when we remember it wasn't free money. It was actually debt. And so in there is where the problem is. You'll also see them with the way they respond to text messages inviting them to borrow, especially messages from mobile lending apps, right? When they receive a text message reminding them that now they qualify for amount X from a certain lending app. And then you see the excitement in their faces, right? Some of them will be celebrating and thanking God for answered prayers. And I've always asked them, are you sure you asked God to increase your borrowing limit? Is it that you've run short of prayer items to give to God? All right? Because I've seen many of them shout and celebrate just because they received a text message that they now can qualify for amount X from a certain lending app, that their limit has been enhanced by a certain amount, right? And they'll be happy, and immediately you see them flash their phones and begin to swipe and begin to dial and begin to request for that particular amount. They were just resting easy, and they were not thinking about borrowing. They were just doing their own business before the text message came. But as soon as the text message comes, you begin to see them wanting to apply. Those are what I call ability-driven borrowers. A very dangerous form of borrowing, ability-driven borrowing. Right, of course it begs the question, so what would be the best approach to borrowing if one has to borrow? And that is how I come up with the conversation that I call purpose-driven borrowing. And I think in the videos that will follow, then we will have to do purpose-driven borrowing so that then I can walk us through the ideal process of borrowing if you must benefit from borrowing. All right, for now, avoid being an ability-driven borrower. You can do better.